This podcast with Mike Rashid was so interesting, and there's so much information that I want to share, and Mike obviously wants to share. And so we broke it into two parts because it's too long to do it into one episode. So there are two episodes. So stay tuned. This is Read the Tape, where we cut through the noise, the hype, the headlines to figure out what's really going on. I'm Mike Shapiro, real estate entrepreneur, mentor, and guy who's been through enough cycles to know the tape never lies. Here we talk about business, life, relationships, leadership, and how to stay clear where the world feels upside down. Because success isn't luck, it's pattern recognition. And if you can learn to read the tape, you can play the game smarter, sharper, and stronger. Let's get into it. Today on Read the Tape, I'm going to read this because I'm never going to get it all in. And Mike's a friend, and I really want to make sure I cover all the bases. So today on Read the Tape, we have a guest whose resume reads like 5 different lifetimes stacked on top of one another. Mike Rashid is here, a former professional boxer, the CEO and founder of Ambrosia Collective, founder of the Sacred Society, and an authority in the fitness and wellness space. He is also the author of the Divine Quintessence, a work that explores inner strength, consciousness, and self-mastery. Mike built himself in the ring, in the gym, in the business world, and in his inner life, each time using the same core principles: accountability, presence, discipline, and the ability to read people and situations with surgical precision. His path is a blueprint for anyone trying to elevate themselves, mentally and physically. Today, we're diving into the situational awareness, mentorship, pressure, identity, and what it really takes to build yourself into a stronger, more intentional human being. 2 mics, 2 perspectives, 1 truth. Your awareness determines your outcomes. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks for having me, sir.
Absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure. So, I want to, I know you for many years now, actually, and it's been kind of fun. Like, I think the first time I met you, because you're a New Yorker, and we share that in common. So, the first
At
time,
the gym.
At the gym.
Yes, sir.
And the first time I met you, I don't know if you like me or not. I couldn't tell.
You keep saying that, but I'm neutral with everybody I meet.
Oh, there you go.
Unless there's something over the top that's kind of a turnoff, but it was nothing.
Right. Well, we both have sort of this attitude. We both sort of like walk in the room like, hey, I'm here. So I think it's probably something like that. But it's always been a pleasure.
Whatever you were sensing, that was on you. It wasn't on me.
All right. I was sensing something wrong. I think you made a comment. We both love watches, and I think you made a comment on my watch, and it made some other.
I think I was giving you props on your watch.
Yes, you were, and I think I made a self-deprecating comment to you, and I'm like, I think.
Why do you do that so much?
Why do I self-deprecate?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm probably insecure. Is probably what it is.
Okay. All right, you're honest.
That's probably what is happening. So yeah, but anyway, we formed a friendship, and I think the second time we met in the gym, I think I just said we shared this sort of common New York thread, and where we all yell at one another, and we're best friends.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So tell me, where you got your start, what you beginning, like how is the Mike Rashid today? How did this happen?
Yes, sir.
If I can open that up like that.
Good question. I have to attribute a lot of it to my parents, to my family. My father, well, first my mother, she was big on education, and she was very mean, and I was afraid of my mom. So I got really good grades. I was a really good student. I dropped out in college, but I was a good student for the most part. But that kind of rigor that I had in my studies, it stayed with me to this day, like literally to now. I love studying. So my mother kind of put that bug in my back of being inquisitive and finding information and knowledge and whatnot and mastering it. And my father, he just gave me really good like man lessons.
Mm-hmm.
He got me interested in working out at an early age. He put me in boxing as a kid. And these things like really shaped the person that I am today. So, and I also have my like really good grandparents, like the best grandparents ever. So I just had a very well-rounded genesis, if you will. And I was raised in New York City, in Brooklyn, at a time when Brooklyn was very volatile, or New York was very volatile. So, some people will look at that as a bad thing, but pressure, stress can bust pipes or make diamonds.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I like to think I'm the latter. So I think I got a lot of good sauce from my upbringing and my genesis.
So your family, you feel, is like the most important part of like created who you are today, and growing up in Brooklyn.
Yes,
A
sir.
lot of amazing people grew up.
Yes,
I
sir.
lived in Brooklyn at one point as
Yes,
well. So
sir.
my family is technically from Brooklyn as
Okay.
well. So
Yes, sir. I think Brooklyn shaped me to a high degree. My family definitely, because how you start is important. How you start is part of your raw ingredients, right? And then the recipe is shaped over time by our decisions and our actions. So yeah, I think that my parents, I think I inherited good instincts, you know,
from parents.
from my parents, yes, sir. And I'm very appreciative of that. In New York, people don't realize when you live in New York, you're like in the center of the world.
Yeah, that's true.
You're exposed to every culture at its purest. So I had different perspectives. I went to school on the West Coast. I had way different perspectives than when I moved out west. But also, in addition to that, as a young boxer, I traveled a lot. And boxing was not a school sport. So I was an individual to a high degree. I never played the team. I did play the team sports, but nothing as serious as boxing. So, and boxing had you traveling a lot. So I had more of a global perspective than my peers. And I find that gives me a lot of just context and perspective on a lot of things that people don't typically have. So, yeah.
So what attracted you to boxing in the first place? Was it the pure athleticism?
It
Was
was,
it?
yes, sir. Muhammad Ali, my father gave me a bunch of Muhammad Ali tapes. It just blew me away. Like his poetry, his the way he talked crap and backed it up.
He was hilarious.
He was just so
The
he
best.
was yeah, and he was so, for him to not have a traditional education to be so intelligent, it was mind blowing. And then how it translated in the ring, it was just amazing. So that Mike Tyson, because I was he was coming up when I was watching, and like I just loved it. So I wanted to do it too. Whenever I seen something incredible, I wanted to do it. I wanted to try.
Have you met Muhammad Ali?
Yes, sir.
He vibrates. He's got so much charisma.
Yes,
I
sir.
only met him later in life, and he was
Yes, sir.
quite ill.
Yes, sir.
But I couldn't believe how he
Yes, sir.
vibrates.
Same.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
sir.
I'm sure obviously you met Mike Tyson.
Yes, sir.
He was living near all of us at one point down in Orange
Yes,
County.
sir. Yes, sir. But we're actually friends.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
I just did his podcast a couple years ago.
Oh, did you?
Yes, sir. So
I met
yeah.
him not 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Okay.
He was in a gym. His daughter was training with a friend of mine.
Oh,
She's a
okay.
tennis player.
Yes, sir.
And I was on the bike and I was looking. I'm like, is that Mike? I was like astounded.
Right,
And
right.
I literally fanned out.
Is he not in Newport anymore?
I think he's in Florida.
Okay.
From my understanding.
Okay.
But I think maybe he has a home there or something. But I was
Okay.
like so flabbergasted. He was
Yes,
like in
sir.
front of me that I went right up to him like, I'm sorry. You probably get this all the time, but I have to meet you. And he was
Very
lovely.
nice, right?
Couldn't have been
Yeah.
nicer. And so it's great.
Yeah, he's one of the warmest people you'll ever
Yes.
meet.
Right, considering his persona,
Right.
but he's like this warm,
Yes, sir.
caring. It was awesome.
That's the archetype of a warrior, though. Warriors are really nice people.
It's true.
They can turn it on, but you got to think about like life, the duality of life. You can't have hot without cold. Can't have day without night. So a person that might have that extreme terror about them, they got that extreme love and compassion too. It's
Why
both
is that?
both equal parts. That's just it has to be like that.
Sometimes I'm not a very good boxer, but I like to. As they tell me when I sort of hit the bags or whatever, I mean, they tell me that I have absolutely no defense. Like I'm really going to be in trouble because I have very little
Well,
flexibility.
if you good with the offense, you don't need defense.
So they say hit first, which is kind of
Right.
funny, but I go to that American boxing gym sometimes
Yes,
and
sir.
I work out, and obviously they have people who are professionals or whatever, and they always look, they're very scary looking individuals,
Right.
but they're always the nicest,
Yes, sir.
most kind, like warm, and I always just get a
Yes,
kick
sir.
out of it.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
If you ever spent time in a real boxing gym, a competitive boxing gym, it's like a family.
Mm-hmm.
The culture is to walk in and greet everybody. Every boxer come in and shake everybody's hand. And guys that get in there and go to war, but it's a respect. It's a mutual respect, especially afterwards. You gain like some really good friends like that. A friend of mine just fought in in London last week. He lost, but him and the guy that he lost to prayed together after the fight. That's the kind of culture that boxing really
True
brings together.
sportsmanship.
Yes, sir.
The reality of what sports should be all about.
A real warrior is a gentleman. Is a soft person. They put their warrior persona on when it's time for that.
I completely agree with that. I mean, I did this post recently on masculinity, and everyone talks about toxic masculinity and
Yes, sir.
what it is. And I know you talk about this all the time.
Yes, sir.
And my comment was, I think, similar to yours, where being masculine is also being kind, crying, being emotional. It's not only that masculine being in charge or
Yes, sir.
that sort of traditional masculine role. So how did you did you develop that, like that sense of that, or is that something that you always were? Like, is that something that you learned, or is
I am who I am. Like, I've always pretty much been the same. My father, I guess is my father. He's a man's man. He's a guy, and my mother, yeah. And where I'm from, you gotta be masculine.
right, to survive?
You have to have a lot of drive in you and competitiveness in you, because you won't get heard, seen, you won't eat, right? And my family is really big, right? On my mother's side, it's huge. So, and they're all down south, so I would spend a lot of time out there. I got a lot of cousins, so it's kind of like you had to fight to get ahead, to be seen and heard. So, but my father taught me things like firm handshakes, look a man in his eye, honor your word. He gave me all the foundational things that a man is supposed to have, that, you find that a lot of guys don't have as adults, which is interesting. But yeah, I guess my father, he gave me the blueprint, but it was still a lot that I had to learn on my own as well. And yeah.
I mean, I've known you for long enough. You have very aware of your surroundings. Like, you're extremely capable. With the book that I wrote, I mean, it's similar to what you're espousing, of
Sure.
how do you read a room? How do you situationally aware? It's like, do you think that's somebody you're born with that? Like, you walk in a room, you size up the room, you size up the people, you make decisions on how to interact, or
Yes,
how
sir.
to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Do you think people are born with that, or do you feel like you've learned that, or
No, sir. I don't think people are born with it. I if you observe anybody, it's really nature. It's nurture over nature, right? We learn certain things, and I was exposed to a lot of things that were not ideal, right? So you have to learn how to be aware of everything and everybody, right? It's just wise. And then as a man, I have my fiance with me right here.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
When's the wedding?
Well, to be determined, but
No
it should
pressure.
be official in January if all goes well. But and I have children, so I'm always looking out. And I've always been like that. I've always been like the protector, even of my friends. So, and I was a little guy growing up. They called me skinny.
I find that very hard to believe.
I'm serious. But I had a lot in me, a lot of energy in me that I get from my mother. But yeah, I guess my position in life, the places I've been and grew up in, and it kind of shaped me into being who I was. And I got to say this: my mother and father wasn't together, and her husband was very abusive to her, and I hated. I wanted to do something to him, but I was a little kid. I couldn't. So I just wanted that in itself. That what people will call trauma. It was like fuel for me to be able to protect.
Being bullied, and then you being the protector, and the fuel for
to not let that happen to nobody I love. Yes, sir.
That's fantastic. So you've become a role model for many people in the world at this point. You have a huge audience. I mean, you have millions of followers, and you are what they call an influencer. And I think there's a crisis happening with young men, especially today. There just seems to be no role model or no capability of understanding what that means and how to navigate this world we live in. It's so complex. So what do you do? Like, when somebody comes to you, how does that work? Like, someone can say, "Hey, I need help." How do you start that? What do you do?
That's a good question. So I've been on social media in a big capacity since around 2011, 2012. And the content that really took off for me, is training, motivation, stuff like that. But in addition to that, I used to have a series called Mental Jewels. And it would be like just mindset, different perspectives on life. And because I've always been that guy. I've always been the guy telling my friends about this book and listen to this lecture and so on and so forth since I was young. So it carried on into my adulthood. So when I would do the training videos, I would try to match it with do another video about some perspective, because this is what my energy was always this. Like, I'm just going to give people something very useful, things that I figure out in life, and I'm going to show it to them, whether it be workouts or mindset, nutrition, whatever. So, and it's important for me to give the best information possible. Now, moving forward, people will always ask me, like, do you do mentorship? And I'd be like, yeah, just watch my content, But it got so much to where I was like, all right, I think it's time to transition into that. So 2 years ago, I started putting together a community, and we have a community now called the Sacred Society. And it started out called the Superior Man. It was just for men, but women wanted to be in, and they were so interested. And I was like, well, I guess it doesn't hurt for them to join. So we changed the name to Sacred Society. The teaching is still primarily towards men, but women need to be aware of these things too. They need to know, the checklist on when they have a suitor for them, right? Know have expectations and so on and so forth. And what I do is I give them, like, when they come into the community, is to elevate themselves intellectually, physically, nutrition, financially, like all of the things, even spiritually, because that's very important to me. So we have different courses and resources inside, and one of them is about emotional intelligence and emotional resilience. I think it's bizarre that that's not a big thing in school.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard to teach, like, emotional intelligence or emotional capability or understanding that. It's like a hard, like, get from a course point of view. I mean, you're obviously have extremely high IQ levels in emotional intelligence. Like, you're feeding off of it, or you're able to do that. So it's hard to teach. It's like almost like somebody who's a practitioner, like, watch me or listen to me. So, like, how would you do, like, that's an interesting point. You're right. Well, traditional schooling doesn't have that.
You have someone that's qualified to teach it. It wouldn't be hard for one who's qualified in it, right? So, like, it would be hard for me to teach trigonometry. It'd be impossible.
That's
right?
True.
So you see what I'm saying? Everything can be measured, right? So there's ways of measuring one's emotional intelligence and things of that nature. So, I mean, we teach it in the community, right? Now,
but you have a sense of what's great about it. You have a sense of community. So they're all, I'm assuming it's all supportive, and they form friendships and bonds, and then create additional ability to learn by having that emotional intelligence, because they're being honest with one another and communicating.
Well, I test them often because I'm not super nice to them. That's just not my personality. And in there, I'm even more stripped down, because it's like, I want to be effective, right? So if you're paying to be in here, right, you must respect me to a degree, and you want to hear some of this wisdom. But if you're not doing the things, then I don't want you here. You're not good for the community.
So you're a tough coach. You don't accept.
I'm just honest. Yes, I don't accept. Right. I've had a couple people leave, and that's fine. You are absolutely not ready for this. Mm-hmm. This is not for you. But it's never because of anything negative on my end. It's because I'm holding them to the fire. You're paying me to hold you accountable. I'm going to hold you accountable. And if you don't want to be accountable, you don't want to do the things, then it's okay.
It's hard to do. I mean, I find that hard for myself. People have asked me to mentor them, and it's been a pleasure and a privilege to do that. But I find that hard for myself when, holding those people accountable and they're not accepting any advice or not accepting it. It's difficult for me to move on. I don't, and sometimes end those mentorships, which I should, because they're just not doing what's necessary to create whatever the outcome it is. So that's interesting.
I totally understand that, because you grow a relationship with people.
Right, and you want to hurt them.
Yes, sir. But I would be hurting them by keep letting them tag along and just feeling good and motivated when I talk. I don't like that. That's not helping you. So look, you need to be outside of the circle and think about why you're outside of the circle. And if you really want to grow, you really want to, like, it could be like losing weight. There's guys that I squeeze them because they're not losing the weight. They have all the tools, right? and
Ozempic,
they're not
yeah.
doing the things. Well, I don't know about that,
Okay.
but in our community, there's no reason for everybody to not be in shape, right?
Right.
So I'm a guy. All right. So what's going on? Oh yeah. I said, nah, I could see it in your face. I could see, I said, stand up, show me your abs. I got a 6-pack. Show me. No, I mean, why would I show you? I said, you could shut me up right now. You know what I'm saying? And this guy got so uncomfortable because he's telling me. I'm like, why are we talking? It's
Well,
such an easy.
I haven't had a 6-pack since I've been 5 years old. So,
Okay.
I've like lived without it.
All
I have a
right.
1-pack. But,
Okay.
but I love being fit.
That's what's for sure. I think we all do, But ultimately, I just want to be effective
Sure.
and help people. I don't need people in the community just to be there. This is for us all to grow, even myself, right? So if we're not it's not a beneficial exchange, and you have to leave. And money is not the exchange that I'm there for.
You have this massive charismatic quality. It's like they call it different things, like je ne sais quoi or zats, or like you enter a room, you notice whatever you're doing. It's like I always say, like, we vibrate.
Yes, sir.
So can you remember the earliest time that you had that, or you did something that just occurred, or is it developed over the years, or like?
It's interesting. My mother always said the je ne sais quoi, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm just me. I've always had a lot of attention on me. Some people just got that kind of energy that people want to like talk to and be around, and I accept it. It was hard at first, though. I'm not gonna lie. Like, especially when I got older, like 2012, 2013, I would see people when my content was starting to go viral. I'd be in different events, and people would be looking at their phone and looking at me like that, and I'd be like, "Yo," and look, big protector vibes, right? Mm-hmm. But extremely protective of myself.
Sure.
So I'm hyper aware, and I'm like staring them down, like, "What's up? Mm-hmm. Can I help you?" They'd be like, "Oh, is this you?" I go, "Oh," so it had that softened me up a lot for a lot of different types of
so you were
social
uncomfortable with celebrity at first, even though you like the attention.
No. I didn't even think about that because it wasn't like the goal, right? Social media just kind of grabbed me and like, let's go. I didn't expect for what happened to happen. So that wasn't really a thing, right? But I have always been in some kind of leadership position in my peer groups, the different groups over the years. But this was something different. This is people that I don't know staring at me. I'm thinking like, this guy, he trying to do something to me? Like, I'm thinking like that. Street instincts are starting to kick in, or just survival, or not. I don't even think about surviving. Thriving instincts. It's like, I'm not going to let you even get close to hurting me, right? So, and that comes from, you mentioned something earlier about being insecure. That's my insecurity. I don't want to get hurt. I do have certain degrees of fear, right?
Sure, we all do.
So I'm hyper vigilant and aware, or try to be aware of things, so I don't get hurt. I don't get whatever it is, right? So back then that was the energy, but over the years I got so much gratitude for these people, and I appreciate these people. And just like we was talking about how you said it's like an epidemic of people not having like mentors or role models. I'm like, okay, I could do that. I appreciate you. Like when we do an expo and it's like a long line, I'm like, I stay there for everybody because I appreciate you waiting here just to say hi to me. I think that's pretty cool.
Is it an epidemic because there's not parenting? Like, you had great parenting. So it was sometimes when I feel like I'm mentoring, it's just like, where are the parents? Do you feel like that was as you would say in your own, was the genesis of this problem to begin with?
I can't say it's an exact formula, right? Because there's plenty of people who, my parents were great, but they probably weren't the best parents, right? We made do with what we had, and if I just told you the story of my childhood without context, you'd be like, that was horrible, right? I thought it was great. I think it's great. I did feel love, but I wasn't, it wasn't ideal by any means. So I don't think it's always that.
Was your love conditional or unconditional from your parents?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. And I'm just being honest because sure. I think that all love is conditional.
You do?
Yeah.
Do you feel this is a really interesting point for me? Because I always say that if you give someone unconditional love, watch them grow, and amazing things can happen. So I just interesting you think that.
Okay, maybe I don't understand unconditional love. What is unconditional love?
Literally unconditional. It doesn't like you just love this person is a child, that is, it doesn't matter who they are or what they are. You're unconditionally loving. Like, obviously it's conditional if they're not doing the right thing or horrible things happen. I'm not saying
So
it doesn't become conditional, but I'm saying unconditional at the beginning. Like you can be who you want to be, like not putting barriers or structure.
oh yeah, I think that's I want to understand you. So to be yourself 100% and give somebody else like that safe space for them to feel like they could be themselves. I think that's being honest, that's being open, right? Unconditional. I don't think that exists because everything is based off of a relation. Every relationship is based on conditions and circumstances and situations. It's not just for, that's like meeting somebody you never met before and then like, you know what, let's love each other regardless of what. There's no regardless of what.
So I'll enter a relationship and I'll
Okay.
give people the benefit of the doubt, and it's hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give people the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised in a family where I like to think it was unconditional. Maybe you're right, it was conditional. But I mean, I was raised in a family where I am today who I am because
Yes,
of
sir.
my father.
Yes, sir.
He said you can be or whatever you want, and so it was a lot of the things that I learned was from him. But I mean, I've never really thought of it that
What
way.
if he wasn't that great father and he was abusive to your mother? Would you love
I would
him?
be a different person.
But would you have that unconditional love for him?
No question about it.
Yeah.
There's, I would never have thought
There-
that way. But my father
Hence-
came from Brownsville, Brooklyn,
Yes, sir.
and he grew up in very poor,
Yes,
and it
sir.
was rough. And he had very, very conditional love from his father,
Yes, sir.
and it was
Well,
different.
okay, so okay, that's a good start. What made that conditional? His relationship with his father.
I think that he was an immigrant from an extremely rough situation from Russia.
Yes, sir.
And he was stepping over bodies in the Russian Revolution. I mean, it was like horrific childhood.
Your grandfather.
My grandfather, and I didn't know him. He died when I was 3 years old. But
Yes, sir.
it was a situation where he probably didn't know the difference. He was a truck driver and drove meat trucks. It was probably pretty rough.
Yes, sir.
He was big in the unions. I mean, he was tough. I'm
Yes, sir.
told.
Yes, sir.
And he raised my father in a very conditional way. And,
What does that mean, though? Conditional.
I think he was abusive. My father stuttered. I don't think he felt loved or cared for. So I think that, people talk about like breaking cycles. And I think when he had me and my sister, he was breaking those cycles. And I had like, I love you no matter what. Like I remember all this,
Yes, sir.
conversation. And my father was very masculine guy. He was bigger
Yes,
than
sir.
me. He was,
Yes, sir.
tough guy, but he was very loving. Like I remember the earliest memories of being humiliated, him like yelling out the window when he dropped me off to school, I love you, screaming. I was like, I was running,
Yes,
what I mean?
sir. Yes, sir.
So I just remember all this like warmth. I also remember him always bringing everyone over that had nothing or
Yes, sir.
needed help, or him mentoring. I just remember him being very charitable. So I had this upbringing of this person I thought was unconditional to us, and it gave me this.
The way so just so you gotta understand how I think, pretty much any traditional understanding of things I don't have, right? I dive into information and I take it for the face value, right? So I would look up, me personally, like when I leave here, I'm gonna look up what conditional is, right? And I want to break it down. I call it word alchemy. But anyway, it just sounds like your father was an awesome human being.
He was.
So he knew how to love properly. Maybe his father was a little rougher because of his conditions.
Yes, no question about it.
He didn't want to be born in Russia during the wars and all of that stuff. So, nurture over nature, right? His environment created him to be the man that he was, and we can't really avoid that, So, yeah, so the love part, maybe some people love better. Who determines what's good or bad, right? So, yeah. So when we come back down to just purely loving somebody unconditionally, I just don't think that exists. The right conditions, I love you to death, do anything for you, right? But if those conditions are broken or changed, what are we going to do? I'm going to still do the same thing? I'm going to still have the same feelings? Probably not,
Yeah. I never really thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got points.
Yes,
I always think, like, from my perspective, like that a parent-child relationship is unconditional as far as I love you, whoever you are.
I think that's we supposed to.
You're supposed to do that, but it doesn't
Right,
work that way.
but it's nuance, and like, are we really nice people? Are we, what if a father or a mother don't have the means to the energy? You know what I mean? What if they have a mental illness? Like, it's so many variables.
That's true.
It's so many things.
It's true.
My mother had mental illness, like severe, but I knew she loved me. My mother was a deeply loving person, but her illness can make her very harsh and mean, But I do not. I had a thought this morning. It was a weird thought. I don't know why I had it this morning. I don't know if you remember, but the last time we saw each other, I had just found out my mother passed away.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
No, it happens. That's life. So this morning, when I was in the shower, I was thinking about heaven and hell, right? Like, what do we really know? What is it really going to be like? Is it whatever? Like, understanding information, understanding things, right? And I'm like, what if we have an opportunity, we do certain things in life, and then we have an opportunity in the afterlife to bring somebody up, but it'll prevent us from going somewhere else. I said, I'll do that for my mother, I'd resurrect her back or whatever so she could have a better life, because my mother didn't have a good life, and it wasn't her fault, So, maybe that's unconditional love, because my mother wasn't good to me all the time.
That's.
But I would.
Under my definition, that would be unconditional love.
I would do that.
The ultimate thing is, you're a spiritual person. The ultimate is forgiveness.
Yes, sir.
It's the ultimate thing to, no matter what happened, is forgiveness. And you see these points of grace throughout history. Like, like, look what that person did to me, and then they forgave them.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, it's an extraordinary, that to me is the ultimate sign of strength. If you can forgive, and you've done that. So that is unconditional. So yes, you qualified under unconditional love of your mom.
I guess it does exist.
And that's awesome.
But I wouldn't expect that from most people, You
can't.
Yes, sir.
But when you see it, it blows my mind. When you see those things,
yes, sir.
It's just extraordinary. The sense of humanity.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Which is refreshing.
It is,
because it seems like we live in an inhumane place.
We do.
Yes, sir.
Because do you feel that the world has become more selfish at this point, or do you feel like it's just because of the amplification of the way we communicate through social media? Do you feel people are the same, or do you think it's getting worse?
I think it's worse, I'll tell you why. So, I'm a religious person, and I believe in one God, right? And back in the day, when they were really going hard on that, I didn't understand why. Like, what are they talking about? Like, so is it other gods? Like, whatever. So nothing changes. It just gets kind of worse or bigger. So when you really think about it, you look at people back then that were like pagans, right? Or just believed in many gods. What did that mean? It mean you pray to this statue for strength, this statue for whatever, right?
Sure.
So now it's the same thing, where we all have the concept of God having pretty much the same qualities, like love, righteousness, forgiveness, mercy, so on and so forth, right? And it's a big emphasis in religion to be aligned with God. That's not a surface level thing. That's like all of the rules that God gives you, because those rules are good. No one can look at any of those rules and say, that's bad, I don't want to do that, right?
Right.
So follow that, not the false gods, right? And the biggest false god is money. It's money. We live in a world, right, where money reigns supreme. People say they love God. Yeah, you love money, God. They don't have to say it for it to be a reality, but people's actions show it. Look, I like cars, you like cars, we like watches, but I started getting to a point where I'm like, this is kind of weird. This car costs this much money and people ain't got nothing,
Right.
Sure. I don't know how I feel about that. And I remember spending time with my family, like my family in Florida. They don't got much. And I remember I had on like a certain watch. I was like, take this off. I feel stupid wearing this. So it's like people don't care though, right? People do not care. People, I watched a clip of a man, I think it was in Newport or something. He got robbed for Richard Mille, right?
Sure, yeah.
$400,000 watch or $300.
They're expensive.
And it's like, and then I'm looking at the comments, they're arguing, like, people saying that's stupid, but the others like, no, it's not. It's like, it kind of is stupid. It kind of is stupid. I have one, but it's stupid, right? I have like a lot of things that I have or had, I got rid of,
Well, I mean,
And
there's probably you evolve as a human being, and so
it
there's
started,
validation.
it started feeling like a sin to me.
What happens is as one gets more resources, for lack of a description, I think you want validation. Like, I worked hard, these are the resources I have, and so you buy things to validate. Was it the right decision? So you've come to a point in your life, I'm guessing, where you're like, well, that's not really validating. It's not really what it's all about. So you've switched gears.
See, that's the thing. That's people not really. And look, people are free to
Of course.
not believe in God if they want. But if you adhere to God's laws and principles, you wouldn't be looking for validation from people. Because that's the only validation. That's the only people going to validate you for having a car.
I look at money. I personally look at money as a tool, and so I think the ultimate quality of, if that's the right term, of money is choices.
Yes, sir.
So the more money you have, or that score, if you will, the more choices you have. Whether 100%. To buy the watch, not to buy the watch, to live where you want to live, to help others. So, like, I think the pursuit of it can be helpful as long as you use that tool for good, which is obviously what you're doing right now.
Okay, so we're saying the same thing. So there's nothing wrong with resources. I think you should have resources. I preach that to the guys. Like, you need to have your money together. But what do you do with it?
Right.
Once you get it. So I know I've been very wasteful with money, just buying things I didn't need, And I even had, I remember.
It feels good for about 2 minutes, doesn't it?
One time it does, but
maybe 30 seconds.
But it goes away so fast.
Of course.
And one time, I remember I went to get a particular car. I went to Eurocar. I had the car that I wanted. I was going to go get it. So I get there, and then there was another car right next to it. And the car that I was getting was a year older. Then they had the brand new one, right? It was $100,000 more. So he's talking to me, but I'm staring at the newer car, right?
Of course.
And I'm like calculating. And I'm not listening to anything he's saying, and I felt like a crackhead. Like, I want this car. And I'm talking like this, like, I want this car. I want this car. I'm gonna come back tomorrow. I'm gonna get this car. Save this car for me, right? But later on, I was like, what's wrong with you? Why would you do that? So I didn't get it, of course. But it's that is addicting. It's like a drug, and it's a drug. It's an addicting thing that doesn't help you at all.
It doesn't help you, but it's funny to me, like, sometimes I help people or mentor people, and I always call them props. Like, are you a prop person or are you not a prop person? Do you feel good without props? Like, it's like watches or a car, especially in California, where a car culture, cars in California are like clothes. Like, you get treated. I don't make the rules, but you get treated differently depending on the car you're driving, or you pull into the proverbial valet, and where your car sits, or how you respect it or not. And I have some cars are very expensive, some are really inexpensive. I always get a charge out of how they treat you. But it's just it's an interesting analysis of why this happens and how we're sort of pushed into these roles. But as I've gotten older, it is just a tool. What are you going to do with that tool? What are you going to do with those choices? But it is an important tool, as you've said, a very important tool.
Yes, sir.
And if you feel good about, buying those things, it is like a drug, and it lasts. The high lasts.
I want to be clear. I'm not saying that it's inherently wrong at all.
Oh, no, I don't.
At all. I'm not saying that at all. But my path is a little bit different, and I know exactly what you're saying, because I like that. Like, you get the valet, and I always had cars that nobody, because I'm not the Lambo type, so I do other types of cars, right? So
I've seen you in very nice cars. I'm not going to say the cars. I've
yeah.
seen you they're more expensive than Lamborghinis. But that's
well,
fine.
you know, but I like what I like, and I like what they say. The valet guys never see this one. You know, I
Right.
like
Oh,
that stuff.
feels good, doesn't it?
But you know, I like better when I'm speaking to a young man, like, or somebody who I respects want me to talk to their son. Talk to my son, man. You know,
That feels good.
and I do that, and the son is like, man, I like your character. I like how you carry yourself. I'm like, that's better than the Phantom. That's better than the cars. You know what I mean? So hear me out. Hear me out. So the thing that personally me that I want to be the dominant factor of people's draw to me, it could be cars, but I don't want that. I want it to be my energy, the words that I speak, the life that I live, the way that I live my life. I want it to be that. Things of a character, things of a godly nature. That's it.
Where can we find all of the things that you're doing, and how, if people want to follow you, or if they want to join your group and want you to mentor them, what can they do?
Yes, sir. You know, social media. Mike Rashid on all platforms. The book's on Amazon. Just search Mike Rashid, and then you'll find. Just look up Mike Rashid mentor, Mike Rashid book, whatever. It'll pop up.
Okay,
It's easy. It's simple.
It's easy to find.
Yes, sir.
And it's
Yes,
easy
sir.
to connect
Yes,
as far
sir.
as all the things that you're doing.
Yes, sir,
and
for sure.
Connect into your groups.
I got funnels on funnels on funnels.
But thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode of Read the Tape. If you like what you heard, make sure you're following me everywhere people argue about ideas. I'm talking about everywhere. Instagram, Meta, TikTok, YouTube, all under Shapiro Method. And please be sure to download and like the podcast. I'm on LinkedIn as Mike S. Shapiro, you know, where people post their resumes and call it thought leadership. And of course, you can find this podcast on all platforms, including the ones that haven't even been invented yet. That's my line. I'm keeping it. I'm Mike Shapiro, reminding you the tape never lies, but people usually do. See you next time. This podcast with Mike Rashid was so interesting, and there's so much information that I want to share, and Mike obviously wants to share. And so we broke it into two parts because it's too long to do it into one episode. So there are 2 episodes. So stay tuned.